Welcome to CTV News Your Canada. It's Wednesday, March the 26th. We're going to bring you profiles of fascinating Canadians and stories about your community. Thanks for watching.
Her fingers rarely stop moving morning, noon, and night. When Janet Meddings is knitting and crocheting, she doesn't even think about it because she's been doing both for so long.
I started doing it ages ago. During the war, I was knitting socks for the poor soldiers when I was 10 with nasty khaki wool that they gave us. And I always felt sorry for the soldiers because I'm sure they were lumpy.
Now Meddings has shifted to making blankets for agencies in Calgary that help the needy.
I do about 2 or 3 a month. And then if we can sell them, it's wonderful because most charities would really rather have money than blankets.
Kimberly Smith says many of the staff have purchased blankets from Meddings.
Last year alone, she donated to In From the Cold, so it was about $1,600, and she sells the blankets for $30 per blanket.
Meddings can regularly be found with others from the Rocky Ridge retirement community sharing stories while enjoying the fire.
She's welcomed me here. She's given me some tips and ideas, and we reminisce about good old England.
I try to do some crocheting, and every time I see her working, I think I should do a little bit more.
Donna Grover started a knitting club here a few years ago with a lot of donated yarn.
Janet has always kept on knitting, and we've always gathered up extra wool for her.
She floats around the dining room with all the good-looking men, and just kind of builds a culture in here that makes you want to live here.
Staff say Meddings' outlook on life is an inspiration.
I think just don't worry about the things you can't control. Just enjoy. Make life happy.
Kevin Fleming, CTV News, Calgary.
Batman keeps like trophies from all his villains and whatnot.
From building bat caves to creating an iconic Star Wars weapon, YouTube sensation Hacksmith Industries has done it all. Now they've taken on a new challenge.
So it charges up and then it's ready to fire.
Creating a custom rocket launcher inspired by the famously fizzy reaction between Mentos and Coca-Cola.
It's quite powerful, a little scary to use actually.
Its name, the fizooka.
Mentos is doing an activation with Fortnite Creative, and they came to us because we're the experts at making things real.
A team of engineers putting their skills to the test by building a supercharged launcher that shoots a soda geyser with the force of a fire hose.
We actually have a 1,000 psi nitrogen bottle behind the cola vessel, and we have a high pressure valve that we release that, and then 1,000 psi launches that out.
Hacksmith Industries, founded by engineer James Hobson, has an incredibly large following on its YouTube channel, taking fictional ideas from movies, video games, and comics and turning them into real working prototypes. His videos drawing in more than 15 million subscribers and racking up millions of views.
What we realized as we did it more and more was it was actually a very inspiring thing to do for students interested in STEM because we're connecting pop culture with engineering.
I'm all right, just hit my knee a little bit.
Their latest creation, fizzling in person, but also bringing together the online gaming community. You'll find the fizooka in some of Fortnite's biggest creative maps, which reach over 1 million players daily. But don't wait too long. It's only in the game for 2 weeks.
It's really fun when you can do a project that everyone's familiar with an element of it. I don't know who else they would have hired to be able to make something like this, because we've got a unique set of skills here that allow us to make some really incredible technology.
From creative minds in Kitchener to millions of gamers worldwide, an explosive experiment you may not want to miss. Hannah Schmidt, CTV News, Kitchener.
How are you?
I'm great, you.
Bill Arts hugs his teammates for the first time since he briefly died on the ice a month earlier.
The heart stopped, and that I had a blockage of 2 arteries, a double bypass and a pacemaker put in, and so they've cut me open, and all still a little bit sore, but yes, I'm on the road to recovery.
Just a couple of shifts into his senior hockey game on February 19th, Arts felt dizzy and collapsed on the bench.
It was really scary.
Luckily, teammate Dave Ulver, a retired firefighter, was there.
Dragged him out onto the ice so we'd had a little bit of room to work on him if we needed to do anything major, and I started CPR right away.
Arena staff members Mark Johnson and Kennedy Sadler were alerted by players banging on the glass.
Pull the door here, alarm's gonna go off. You just grab onto the case there, take it right out there, and start going. I cut the shirt off in half there, and Kennedy got the pads and everything ready to go, and we were ready to rock.
Positive ending, and when we saw him start to come around, we were all breathing a sigh of relief.
Returning to the rink Monday, 4 weeks after the incident, there were hugs and handshakes.
This is the battery out of the AED that saved his life.
Bill's heroes even presented him with a special trophy.
3 years ago, a team of mine in the over 50 in St. Thomas, very much like Bill this year, collapsed on the bench, and I was able to help in that situation too. And 6.5 years ago, I too had a heart attack playing hockey. So it's a crazy story, to be honest. Will you be ready to go for hockey this year?
Oh, I'll be ready. I'm planning to come back in September, and the doctor says do it.
Bill now plans to use his positive fortune as a way to raise awareness about the importance of AEDs.
Looking to do a fundraiser to make awareness of defibs, and also maybe to promote or get donations so that every public building in Elgin can have a defibrillator.
Brent Lale, CTV News.
At first glance, this may look like a typical Ontario craft brewery.
Our brew is essentially a marriage of two of my passions.
Tanks full of fermenting beer, eventually served on tap or in cans. Sunshine in every pour, this is solar beer. Located in the small village of Mallorytown, our brew is Canada's first craft brewery to be 100% solar powered.
I've got a passion for renewable energy. I used to own a solar installation company years ago, and I've also got a passion for craft beer.
It opened in 2022 and has since become a staple in the surrounding community.
It always surprises me because Mallorytown is such a small area, but the community that we have here is everything.
After taking a few years to work out some kinks, they are now on the verge of becoming a solar success story, expanding their operation to 72 panels, which triples their solar energy.
This is essentially a thermal controller that controls an electrical element that runs over 5,000 watts of energy, and we can control the heat that goes into the tanks depending on the beer that we're making.
It means they finally have the capacity to do something Odette has always dreamed of.
We can actually start brewing our beer with solar energy, which is a major upgrade for our business, and that's how we originally intended to do things.
This summer will mark 3 years in business for Our Brew Solar Brewery, and while that is cause for celebration, staff here want to make it clear that it has not been a walk in the park. Running a business this unique is a challenge each and every day.
One of the biggest questions we get is, how do you keep the doors open when, you get days after days of rain?
It's been a trial and error process so far, as unpredictable weather has kept staff on their toes. But this expansion is hopefully a sign of brighter days ahead.
We've been really lucky, and now that we've tripled our power, I don't foresee the same issues we have had in the past.
It's unique, it's different, and people will appreciate that.
Jack Richardson, CTV News, Mallorytown.
Commuters at Lewis Farms Transit Center come in all shapes, sizes, and species. A class full of scruffy students here for some first-hand experience riding the bus. One of many useful skills for service dogs in training, like Winifred.
She's been learning a lot, and it's been helping myself manage my medical conditions.
Natalia Jimenez and Winifred are in class today, so both will be used to taking the bus to school when Jimenez goes to university. Maria Eilis has been training service dogs for 25 years.
Our goal is to bring our dogs to different situations, different environments.
These canine trainees have studied at the airport and at concerts. Today's lessons include how not to be afraid of moving mechanics, how to get on and off the bus, and of course, how to ride.
Okay, let's go. We are working with our dogs for people, they live their life. And then we have to make sure the dog is actually fitting in their lifestyle.
She's
She's a cute girl.
The dogs are also getting used to loud noises and movement without forgetting the person they're caring for.
The dogs have to be confident enough to make their own decisions. It's not about them being told what to do all the time. Sometimes they actually need to break obedience in order to do what they need to do.
This bus is full of treats, some for the dogs, and a different kind for the people who train them.
That's the reason why I've been doing this over 25 years, because it's just absolutely amazing feeling.
A successful day at school for these service dogs to be. Connor Hogg, CTV News, Edmonton.
Proudly Canadian, putting Canada first, one locally owned business at a time.
We created this opportunity called Mini Media, where we can offer companies to advertise their brands within our little world.
Mini Media is an initiative by Little Canada to support Canadian businesses from coast to coast to coast for free.
Canada has brands that are unique. They tell a unique Canadian story. And this gives the opportunity not only to advertise, but also to tell that story.
Everything from scenery, from multiculturalism, it's just beautiful.
It's wonderful here. And it's like beautiful when you come here.
There are 5 Mini Media billboards mixed throughout the 45,000 square foot Little Canada display. Each month, a different proudly Canadian business will be featured.
These billboards, these video screens, they're even vehicles. We have vehicles that run on our world with Canadian brands represented.
This month, it's a small business. North Halton's Reserve, a family business that makes small batch maple syrup from Georgetown, Ontario. The Mini Media campaign will remain ongoing and free to Canadian businesses big and small. And if you want to participate, you can visit little-canada.ca. Jessica Smith, CTV News, Toronto.
It's been over 2 decades since the emerald ash borer was first detected in North America. After devastating millions of ash trees since its arrival, its impact is still being felt.
It's predicted that of the remaining black ash species in particular, within the coming decades, up to 70% of the remaining population might be affected from the emerald ash borer. So yes, it's still very much a real threat, and it does still have impact today.
Protecting those remaining trees, especially black ash, is at the forefront of a new campaign by the Invasive Species Centre. Alongside the National Tree Seed Centre, experts will be collecting ash seeds to preserve genetic diversity, and they're looking for the public's help.
The call to action here is anyone that is able to and is willing to go out and help with seed collection efforts. But other than the seed collection efforts, we're also asking members of the public, whoever is interested and is able to help us map and document the locations of black ash.
In the years since the emerald ash borer arrived in Canada, popularity with growing the native trees has dwindled significantly. For example, the city of Sault Ste. Marie stopped planting ash trees in 2008 and now has just 21 ash trees across its parks and other municipal spaces. Timing is critical for the campaign, as it's predicted that the next 2 growing seasons should yield a bumper crop for ash trees. The added information could help future generations of the trees in North America.
We can kind of make a guess that any of the black ash trees that are surviving or that have survived the attack might have some kind of genetic resistance to the emerald ash borer.
The Invasive Species Centre has created the Ontario Black Ash Inventory Project, live on the iNaturalist platform, to document those ash trees in your area. The centre will also be launching a website in the coming months where volunteers can register and receive kits with more information on collecting seeds and what to do with them. Corey Nordstrom, CTV News, Sault Ste. Marie.
At Pulp Books and Cafe in Verdun, owner Alec Nierenhausen is bracing for impact.
Margins for independent bookstores in general, are some of the slimmest in the retail industry. So we really cannot afford to take any kind of hit.
But a big hit is expected to come April 2nd. Canada's next set of 25% counter tariffs on U.S. goods will include books, a move Nierenhausen says will affect more than half of Pulp's books books will devastate Canada's literary industry and will have little impact on the U.S. economy.
We can't absorb the 25% tariff ourselves. We would shutter within weeks, not months.
Faced with unaffordable books costing $5 to $15 more, Nierenhausen fears readers will turn to sites like Amazon, which he says can afford to absorb the tariffs. It's not only American books that will be affected. Some English-language Canadian books are printed in the U.S. and then shipped to Canada, especially if they're with a major publishing house. Even Prime Minister Mark Carney's book is printed south of the border.
Books should not become weaponized in this really complex and ongoing trade war. It would be unprecedented.
The head of the Association of English Language Publishers of Quebec says cultural products, including books, have been exempt from tariffs in the past. The fear is the U.S. could respond in kind by taxing books coming from Canada, a huge blow to Canadian authors and publishers who rely heavily on sales in the U.S.
We do not want our great Canadian books going to the States to have any, disincentive to be purchased by American bookstores or libraries.
In the meantime, independent bookstores across the country have been calling on readers to write to their MP.
We have to rally the troops. We have to start making some noise,
hoping to have books removed from the tariff list in their fight for a happier ending. Angela McKenzie, CTV News.
Max is a definition of a tiny terror. She rules the roost at the Miramichi SPCA, not because she was asked to, but because she would have it no other way.
Sometimes she comes in and she's so sweet and she just wants to jump on your lap and she just wants love. And some days I look at her and she just screams in my face and doesn't want anything to do with me.
Depending on her mood, the time of day, and several other factors, the tabby can switch from sweet to spicy in just a matter of seconds.
She's sitting on a table where we need to be. If there's paperwork happens to be under her, you have to be cautious on how you move the paperwork. She's been known to smack quite a few times. She's tried to bite. You just use caution when you're around her.
The small girl with a big personality had a unique start when she was dropped off in October 2023.
She was brought here in a box. She was taped in the box, set on our step. We thought it was a container of litter.
Max is the longest resident at the Miramichi SPCA, and while her my way or the highway attitude does make her harder to adopt, staff are hopeful the right home is out there for her.
I think Max has a lot of love to give, and I think if she was in an environment that was a little bit less stressful, there's a little bit less stimulation than there was here, I think she could really thrive and be a really sweet cat.
Max would need to be a solo pet in a home without young kids and with someone ready to accept all of her rules and all of her moods.
She's by no means aggressive. She just likes what she likes when she likes it, and if you respect her and you respect what she wants to sit on and where she wants to be, she's fine.
And after over a year in this shelter, she's ready to run another household. Alana Pickrell, CTV News, Miramichi, New Brunswick.
The sun is shining and the ground is thawing. That means it's almost time to start gardening.
So everything's kind of on track to kind of slowly unfold as it normally does in southern Manitoba, like later May planting out date, early June.
And Sage Garden Greenhouse's Dave Hansen says more green thumbs are thinking about the Buy Canadian movement this spring, which means planting local.
Gardeners are absolutely being mindful, making choices about how they can plant with products that are sourced as locally as possible.
Hansen says his store focuses on growing and selling organic Canadian-produced seeds, but it's not as easy as it seems. He says seeds originate from countries around the world, including the United States.
So we've had to make some careful decisions, but these situations always present the opportunity to do even a deeper dig into where things come from.
Hansen says you can buy Canadian-produced seeds for most vegetables, but some may be tough to find.
Artichokes, thinking about onion and spinach seeds are often not grown in Canada just because of the climate and day length and season length required to produce good quality of those crops.
The co-organizer of Seed Exchange event in Winnipeg says most gardeners here already prioritize planting seeds native to the region.
I think sourcing locally and trading locally has always been something that gardeners are interested in.
And Stephen Kirk says some folks have started gardening in recent years to combat inflation and now to avoid buying U.S.-grown produce.
People want to reduce the costs of their groceries, and so that is another reason why people are getting interested in gardening and seed swapping.
Gardener Vicky Hornby says all of these factors are coming into play as she gets ready to plant this year.
We got a lot of garden centers in Winnipeg, which is very helpful, and a lot of local seeds in the province, so that does help too.
Daniel Halmerson, CTV News, Winnipeg.
More than 1,100 registered participants and more than 130 trade show booths are at the 2025 edition of the Indigenous Business Gathering in Saskatoon. Hosted by the provincial government, it's grown to be one of the largest Indigenous business forums in Canada.
This is exciting. It's very exciting. I think it's a good indication of where our economy is headed in this province and ultimately who's going to participate in that economy.
A Stats Canada report on percentage of Indigenous-owned businesses ranked Saskatchewan third last year. Kading says it's a good sign for the future of the province.
You've seen from the interest that's here today with the trade shows, with the diversity of businesses, that Indigenous communities, Métis communities are going to be a big part of our growing economy.
Along with Indigenous businesses, are government agencies looking to partner up to get their projects to the finish line or maintain existing relationships.
This is a good place for us to discuss further endeavors, but also discuss our history with other companies and just keep connections strong and our partnerships stronger. So.
Burgess adds it's a great place to find the next wave of qualified workers, too.
We are now moving into the rare earths development and also the nuclear world, so we're just trying to stay on the toes and trying to work with people that are also in that same world.
Cadmus DeLorme says he's most interested to speak with the non-Indigenous people and businesses who are here to open up and participate in economic reconciliation.
No one's in the grandstands anymore. The economic horse pulls the social cart. Today, the economic horse, you've got Indigenous people and non-Indigenous people wanting to help with that economic horse.
He says this kind of event wouldn't have been possible 30 years ago.
It was tough to remain Indigenous and be successful in business because sometimes business, people who don't know what reconciliation is, thinks our culture is anti-business, but it actually benefits business.
John Flatters, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Frida will never forget when she was about 10 and started helping her parents transform their home into an international attraction that would change her life forever.
Well, what happened was my dad and mom, they were both creative and industrious.
Although he was a barber, Frida's dad, Andy, was able to do this to the garage and build all that in their backyard before her mom, Marguerite, filled it with flowers.
But it did create a lot of attention.
Tour buses began making regular stops on their quiet suburban street, Frida says, and visitors from around the world started taking pictures of their stone garage with the garden on top.
Which also led them into the house because Dad wanted to share his clocks.
Andy had a collection of 400 antique clocks. He'd offer visitors tours of his display in the basement, and if they hit it off, Marguerite would invite them up for a meal in the dining room.
That's how I met my husband.
What?
He came up for supper, and he stayed for 51 years.
Before he was her husband, Finn was a visiting merchant marine from Norway. And rather than the beauty of their backyard, his eyes were focused on Frida.
Good-looking gal. Drove a 58 Pontiac. Can't get any better.
And after Frida performed accordion for him that night, he asked her out.
They may have been a little bit uneasy when I was dating their daughter, because, you know, sailors don't have the best reputation. But they were lovely people.
And happy Finn was Norwegian, because their family was also the founding members of the Sons of Norway dance group that volunteered at senior centers and veterans hospitals.
And they just seemed to enjoy showing what they had and share it with other people.
Which was exemplified by their garden, which Marguerite kept growing after Andy died, tending to it daily until she died at 96.
She just enjoyed life so much.
Although the property has since sold and the tour bus stops ceased, the stone garage with the garden on top remains. Its legacy of love, family, and community perennially there to inspire. Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Victoria.